What's going on, guys? I'm Jay the Black. Salute to everybody that's tuning in. This is my second video on this Kwame Brown situation. My first video, I'll put that in the description box. Y'all go and check it out. It's on the other channel. And I spoke about Kwame Brown and the roasting that he's been doing to Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, and Gilbert Arenas, and I covered that in the first video. But this video is going to be about what he had to say about Matt Barnes, aka Becky with the good hair, as he calls him, and how, you know, Matt Barnes do a lot of this talking and barking, but he's getting his wife took by his teammate and former friend, and he is going in on Matt Barnes because, of course, you know, Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes responded to Kwame Brown's responding to what they said on their podcast when they had Gilbert Arenas on there, and they were like, I don't want no beef, you know, I don't know where this came from, be mad at Michael Jordan for believing in you, you know, taking little slide digs at Kwame while seemingly seeking to cool things down. And Kwame is having none of it. He's going in. I'll link you to his channel. You know, also make sure you go follow him on Instagram. His Instagram lives have been completely lit, and he has been trending on Twitter the last 2 days. You talk about somebody who has the personality to get people to listen to them. See, this is what differentiates certain people from each other. Kwame has said nothing for years about all the criticisms he's gotten, especially from Stephen A. Smith, who he went in on his most recent live stream, might I add. Hope he posted. If he do, I'll make a response to that one. But one of the main reasons why I am invested in this is because here you have Steven Jackson, a guy I've defended, Matt Barnes, a guy I've defended, right? Even Gilbert Arenas. But they go around going at people who don't have the same opinions as them, politically and socially. And one of the things that Kwame was talking about was how they tend to go at black men more than anybody else. Now, they'll put their fist in the air and talk about the system, but then you're benefiting from working in a corporate system. And you said, and they pretty much admitted it in their responses to Kwame, how they have a bigger platform, bigger audience. And the thing is, I have no issues with them. I just have issues with the way they conduct themselves. Like Matt Barnes. I mean, Matt Barnes did get his wife took, or ex-wife took, by his teammate and ex-friend. And, you know, Matt Barnes does act like a tough guy, especially when you don't agree with him. He does act like that. So he's basically getting his own karma. Steven Jackson as well. These guys are internet tough guys. They like to go at people who don't have the same opinions as them, challenge people. So this is what, I mean, I feel absolutely no sympathy for them whatsoever. I mean, these guys get on social media, get on their podcasts, and they get on their high horse talking about all the smoke, but you didn't want smoke with Kwame, which is interesting. As Kwame would say, some of the smoke. They want some of the smoke. Not all of the smoke, but they don't want none of the smoke. How about that? And Kwame, with his natural personality that nobody knew he had. See, I knew he had this personality months ago when he went in one time before, and I believe I spoke on it. And you know, he has that. You know, a lot of us down south peoples, we know how to roast. If there's one thing we can do, we can roast. We can go in verbally. We're very good at that. Very good at that. And I guess people keep mentioning Kwame, and Kwame knows. Kwame listens. He's just like everybody else. He watches ESPN, Fox. He knows who's talking about him. He just hasn't been very vocal about it. And people do take your kindness for weakness. Yes, they do. They will take your kindness for weakness, and you have to check people sometimes. You have to check them. Now, there were people who did not like my other video. I can tell by the thumbs up, thumbs down, that there were a lot of people who did not like my video talking about how Kwame Brown checked Steven Jackson and Gilbert Arenas. You're probably not going to like this because, again, this man has every right to respond the way that he wants to. And the fact that people are upset because he's responding to people talking about him. And the thing is, it wasn't just this Gilbert Arenas interview. There was a Jeannie Buss interview that he may have been mentioned in. He was mentioned in. He didn't like that either. And he talks about how they will throw rocks and hide their hands. They do that a lot. People do that a lot. They will throw rocks and hide their hands because they want to be seen as the good guys. Even though they get on social media and challenge people to fights. They get on social media, and if a person does not have their opinion, they want to call that person names. And I think that, listen, I think it's great that he's responding. We need more of this. This is the type of energy that we need out here. We need this type of energy out here. We don't need weak people who are willing to have people step all over them, in order to build themselves up. I'm not a believer in that. And people don't like the fact that he's going at Steven Jackson because they look at his social justice, quote unquote, social justice outreach, which is a whole nother subject. But I just want to delve deep into this and why I feel that Matt Barnes is the type of guy who has deep insecurity issues. He has deep insecurity issues, and it has carried over even into his dating life. This guy doesn't even have a stable dating life. This guy drove miles to get into an altercation with Derek Fisher. Do I agree with the going behind your ex-friend's back and trying to date his ex? No. But I don't think that you should be putting yourself in a situation where you're getting emotional about your ex. If she's gone, she's gone. And Matt Barnes is a very emotional guy who's always wanted to fit in somewhere. And now he's fit in somewhere. and if you don't have the same opinion as him as far as melanated people, he get in his feels. Yes, he does. He gets in his feels. Just like Steven Jackson. And I think that this is what we need more of. We need more guys like Kwame Brown who's able to see through the BS and is able to go in. You see, I have my opinions. I don't care what anybody thinks because I know I'm right. And the thing about Kwame, he is a success story. Just hearing him speak about where he came from, him speaking about how poor he was, speaking about how he was able to get to the NBA at 18 and financially be able to benefit his family in the best way. Playing the NBA for 12 years, being number one overall pick for a team, for organization that, if you look at it and look at what he said, didn't really want him in the first place. Well, certain people in the organization didn't. They were going to trade him off, but that never happened. So he stayed there, and he did not become the player that people thought he should have been, even though there have been worse players. I mentioned in my other video about Anthony Bennett. Y'all remember Anthony Bennett, right? The former, University, I believe, of Nevada, number one overall pick out of Canada. The guy had all this hype, didn't last in the league. He only lasted in the league, what, a couple of years? Probably, maybe a little bit more of that. I'm being generous. No, I don't think I'm being generous enough. Maybe more than a couple of years. But he's pretty much been G League ever since. Well, no, G League. Yeah, G League ever since, right? So when you look at Kwame and the fact that he was able to last in the NBA for 12 years, when some high-level draft picks don't even make it, they end up just being a bench player for different teams. But he was on the court contributing. And there were people making fun of him for saying how he basically helped Kobe get that 81, setting screens. And there were people who were mocking that. In order for you to score like that, your teammates are going to have to step in and do those things. It's called teamwork. And yes, Kobe got the credit because Kobe was a great player. And I think that there's nothing wrong with him wanting to be known for what he helped accomplish. Now, again, some people aren't going to like how he's handled this, because they're fans of Steven Jackson. They're fans of Matt Barnes. But if you really look at it, if people are mentioning you, people saying things about you who you were cool with, he was teammates with Steven Jackson, teammates with Gilbert Arenas, and they're bringing him up as if he's the problem. Not necessarily Gilbert in the interview, but you're being mentioned on this podcast by Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. You're gonna respond. And also, let me say this too about Matt Barnes and his ex. It's clear that Gloria Govan had no respect for Matt Barnes. That's why it was so easy for her to get with his teammate, or ex-teammate, ex-friend. I had to put that in there. She had no respect for him. And when a woman loses that amount of respect for you to where she gets with your ex-friend, ex-teammate, that says a lot about you, Matt. It says a lot about you. All this tough guy act, all this, if you don't agree with my political opinions, I'm going to go at you. I'm going to want to pull up like you have, Matt Barnes. You have. See, this is the type of karma that you may get.